Hello, everyone. Today, I am excited to be talking to Corey Gums. He is the founder of the Podcasters Association. He's built a vibrant community on Group App. And so today we just wanted to just sit down and chat about how he launched his community, the goal behind it, and share the inner workings of his community with everyone else that's on this watching this video today. Corey, great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So just kicking things off, tell us a little bit about the Black Podcasters Association.
Okay, so an online community dedicated to Black podcasters and professionals in the podcast industry. Started pre-pandemic, like literal. No, actually, I would say we started when the pandemic happened because that was when I live in New York City. So when it hit New York City, it was actually when I opened up our Facebook group. But we started as a Facebook group, and after about a year and a half, and exploding because of the pandemic from 200 members to like over 1,800, almost 2,000 members on Facebook. Wanted to monetize. I was always trying to figure out how to monetize it, but the culture in the group just started to developing, and we started doing like a lot of educational conversations, workshops, a lot of debates and stuff like that. And I saw a need, but I was presented with an opportunity from a company called Afro Audio where they do conferencing, but they wanted a community element after the conference. And since I was doing that, doing that part, and I wanted to get into conferencing, it was like, well, you're doing this, I'm doing that. Let's just come together. And we created a group on the Mighty Networks platform at first. And then over the time, I came up with the Black, since it was an association of different people in the podcasting industry, I just call it the Black Podcast Association. So we're actually going into our third year in February, um, and it's been an interesting ride since I started. A lot of mistakes and growth in learning.
So if you guys started during the pandemic, your community
Yeah.
just blew up on, initially it was on Facebook groups and it blew up there. You said 1,800 members. And then you were looking to monetize and, your first stop was Mighty Networks. And what brought you over to like Group App? What did you like about Group App from going from a Facebook group to Mighty Networks to now being on Group App?
Truthfully, it was one of the biggest complaints my membership had was that Mighty Networks was too confusing. It was like, the way they had things structured and set up, and for what I wanted it to do. And that was also my mistake as well, for as somebody who didn't know what he was doing when he first started. It was like I just started throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck. But
Mhm.
overall, the biggest complaint I had when people onboarded into Mighty Networks was that it was too confusing, it was overwhelming. And um and it was also, I think, one thing I've learned with the internet is like we use certain apps and things starting to become intuitive on how you use it. And I know when I saw a group app when it was presented to me by an associate of mine, um, I looked at it and I was like, okay, kind of gives me like that whole old school Facebook. Or it's almost intuitive, the left side navigation, the feed, and everything. And I was like, this will work. And then as I started seeing more and more what you offered, I was like, okay, I guess it was the simplicity in the design that made things a little bit easier. And that actually has been the best response I've gotten from members. It's like, okay, thank you for this. This is so much easier to use versus what they were trying to find information on Mighty Networks.
Hmm. So, um, I know now you've fully launched, but walk everyone through like the process of, because you did multiple migrations. You went from Facebook to Mighty Networks to Group App. Walk us through like what was your migration process over to like Group App? How did you get people to join the community? Because like one of the things that I hear a lot of is, oh, I already have a community that exists on these platforms. How do I get them? How do I get them over to Group App? Or how do I get them from Facebook into Group App? How were you guys able to do it? And what was that process like?
Well, the first lesson I learned was that not everybody's going to come,
Yeah.
right? So not everybody's going to migrate over. You're going to lose a lot of, you're going to probably lose more membership than you do coming over. Now, the good thing was when I had the Facebook group, I was heavily involved in it to the point where it was a little obsessive, and it was taking its toll on me. Like I was like literally on Facebook 24/7. just managing everything. But from Facebook to Mighty Networks, what we did was we had created this culture in the Facebook group where I already had a lot of engagement from certain people. So I
Mhm.
kind of I would automatically assume that this core group of people that were always constantly engaging with different people in the group were going to come over because they would always express how much they love the community, how much it's done for them. So it's just a matter of, hey, I did a lot of heat checks. So I was always checking in with people, getting, picking their brains, getting on Zoom calls or whatever, asking them what they're looking for, what they needed. And in doing so, kind of want to build a relationship with those members, but two, it kind of gave me an idea of how important and how impactful the community was for them. So what we did was we just and we rushed it, and a lot of mistakes were made in that. Like we did a Zoom call on in like December, and we said we're launching it in February of the next year because it was Black History Month. So he's trying to keep it with the whole idea of being black. And we didn't understand how to I really didn't understand how to like charge, the value of it. So we did this big presentation. I did a whole outline of like what the idea I had for the new community on Mighty Networks was going to be. Here's what we're going to offer. And as we're doing it, people are like, oh, they were like, what's the price? What's the price? We rolled out with, like, we did kind of like a lifetime deal type of thing. Like we were like, all right, if you get in now, $50 for the life of your membership, as long as it's active, right? Because I didn't know, like the Afros and Audio, they had something where they were doing $50. So I was like, let's just make this easier. You have members over here, I have members over here. Let's just keep it the same price point, and we'll take it from there. But as we're doing our presentation on Zoom, people asking questions, and somebody was like, "Oh, the workshops you've been doing alone is worth $200." And I was just like, "Shush," like, damn, right? Sitting there like, "Oh my God, we made a mistake." But in doing so, those core members came over, and we call them our founders. We gave them a founders tier, and truthfully, we probably had like 50, 60 people come over. We have, and over the course of time, some of those people have fallen off, whatever, for whatever reasons. But we still have that core element, and that core element has always been important for creating the culture of the BPA. And as we move on to other platforms, they're the reason why people stay and engage and stuff like that. So coming over to Mighty Networks, that's how we did Mighty Networks. I'm still learning this whole onboarding thing. So I mean, I still made a
Yeah.
lot of so I kind of was prepping everybody when I signed up for Group App. I was like letting them know we're moving to a new platform. One of the big things was it's Black founded, co-founded, with you being a part of it, and that was a big
Mhm.
thing for my members. But two, it was like, hey, I've heard your complaints, and I had some of my personal issues with how Mighty Networks did certain things and some questions they never answered for me. So I was like, all right, we're going to move over to this new platform. I'm just going to take a couple months, but I'm setting up. So I was constantly reminding them, hey, we're going to be shutting this down. We're going to be moving over to this platform. Nothing's going to change. You're going to be grandfathered in. I let them know pricing was going to go up just because we had to, for the things that I want to do. It's just not sustainable at the price point we had it at. And I was just like, we're going to be, I spent like the past 3, 4 months prepping everybody, letting them know we will be moving here. And even though I set deadlines for myself, they kind of kept getting pushed back. And then it was like, okay, you know what? October's coming. We're getting into the last quarter of the new year. And I need to move these people over to this new platform. So I forced myself to be like, October 1st, we're shutting down the Mighty Networks and everybody come over here. Now, what I didn't do was the group app onboarding process, and I didn't, because I was rushing. I didn't think about it. Well,
Uh-huh.
you see invitations, and I discovered that after the fact. But I created an email template, and that was the other problem. We had so many different plans. I had to literally go look at the plans of who just paid, because some people had just paid their membership on the Mighty
Mhm.
Network. So I was like, okay, you're gonna get like a free year and an extra couple of months on the deal, because I had to do that and set up the segments and plans and stuff. So I had to create emails for each particular group of people that depending on when their membership renewed. So we had the monthly and we had yearly. Monthly, I really was just like, you're gonna get a free 30 days, and then it's just gonna kick in, 30 days after you join. The yearly was the more complicated one because everybody had different dates. So I kind of was just like, here's an email for the inconvenience of the transfer and everything. You're gonna get an extra maybe 2 or 3 months on top of it, you know, um, on top of it. And then I will have everybody kind of renewing their membership around the same time of year versus having all these different dates, at least for the core people who came over. So that's kind of how I did it. I would say about maybe 80% of the people actually came over. Some people didn't get the emails, and I've just been following up. I'm still following up over that, but I've been using the invite system on Group app to remind people of But I discovered the whole CSV thing and all that stuff later on. So now I'm like, oh, now I know how to do this next time. So
So so with the pricing, what were you charging people to like onboard into the community? You said you had a 30-day free trial for people who were already subscribed to the previous platform you were using. And um but before that, you had like a $50 lifetime deal. So now launching for I would say the third time, what pricing model are you using now for your community?
So the difficulty I had with everything, so we launched with the $50 for the founders, which people had only 30 days to join that one. After that, we shut that down.
Hmm.
Then it go up to $100 a year with $100 a year or $10 a month. With you going annual, you get $20, 17%, whatever the number was. Um, one the and then on the group app platform, I raised it up to $225 a month. Which is not when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge jump. But
Hmm.
for one of the things that I really want to do, and one of the issues that happens in the podcast industry is that people do workshops, they do these things, and a lot of times it's for free. And meanwhile, the conferences or the people who are running these summits and stuff are the ones charging, and they rarely pay you. And I really was like, I want to figure out how to bring in income what that also helps to pay the people that I work with, volunteers or some kind of stipend. One of the big issues we have in the independent podcasting space is that these are just normal people with jobs, families, and stuff that are trying to roll out this content, and they get nickel and dime to death. And I didn't want that to be, for me, it was more important about building the association and providing a space for Black content creators that feel, they have a place where they can network, collaborate. So I didn't want to charge an arm and a leg, but things being what they are, in order for this to be sustainable, I had to raise the prices. But in doing so, I plan on offering, a lot more opportunities um for our membership to over deliver, on what we offer. So and the great part is people love the networking and the community aspect. So they've been jumping on board with it.
So now that you got people in here and you had to migrate over from Mighty Networks, um, how did you set up like your engagement plan? Because jumping into a new community platform that's just either just being initially built out can seem, empty or can feel cold. So what was some of the strategies that you deployed to get engagement going right away? Because your community is very active and people are either always introducing themselves, commenting on Quest, commenting on other members' posts. How did you get that behavior to materialize?
I think for me, well, me being able to make the mistakes in the Facebook group and as well as Mighty Networks helped prepare me for this. Because I'm so connected to my membership, and I create an environment where I feel like they can express themselves and say to me, "Hey, Corey, I don't like this," or "Can you do this or do that?" It gives me opportunity to see what works and what doesn't. Like I made a lot of mistakes. We had a book club that went defunct. People still want it back, but how we executed it was it at the time was it. I don't think they were ready for it, and we didn't. I didn't know what I was doing. So like, you got to make mistakes to figure things out. Um, it was, like I'm the type I just my brain just goes crazy, and I put all these channels up, and then after a while, I was like, let me bring a couple people in and get their opinions, and then they started telling me what they didn't need right now, what they wanted in the future, and I just started culling a lot of stuff and breaking it down. I also had the privilege of already having a lot of content already, so like our workshops and stuff. So like utilizing the
Mhm.
library to put up all our old videos and stuff that we have done of workshops and trainings and stuff like that. That helped to propagate the library, and we've already had articles. I have stuff from my newsletter that I can put in there, so that was helping as well. And then it was also like, well, like I added a channel called BPA Celebrates, because a lot of times people are making, I want to keep people inspired, and I want to keep them engaged, right? So what's one of the best ways people like to be engaged is to be able to talk about their wins and their losses, or brag about what they've accomplished. And that was something I just got from the community as a whole, and things we've done in either in-person events or at conferences when we all meet up. It's just everybody's just like, hey, I saw you was doing this, and they're giving a shout out. So I was like, well, let's put this inside the community to help keep people inspired, keep them engaged. When you guys added the onboarding process, I got a little too happy with that. I got a little complaints back, but it helped. But I've had to explain to people like I need the data, I need your feedback, so that when you're onboarding, I can get certain things from you guys, so that I can improve the thing. And yes, it makes the things a little bit more tedious. Some of the questions are a little bit more thought provoking, but that helps to with the introductions. That helps to create engagement as well. So it's just me really trying to listen and having ideas, and then paying attention to my industry as a whole and saying what are these all these different groups and different platforms offering or doing the same, and what aren't they doing, and what are the needs of my membership, so that I can keep them, coming back for more.
Mhm. So what are some of the questions that you asked on your onboarding that I'm just
You,
curious.
give me a second. I'll bring that up. uh,
Uh,
so Well, so for me, for part of me being able to figure out the courses and types of people we bring to come do workshops and stuff, one of the things was like, how long have you been involved in podcasting? Because we have people who, and I just want to rewind real quick. I actually added a free tier,
mhm,
because I want to capture. We have almost 3,000 members in my Facebook group, and I'm actually about to shut that down. I know a lot of people might be cringing at that, but managing everything, as a small business is like I got to pick and choose what platforms I want to be on, and I want to capture people and use that as a funnel to show them, almost using FOMO, right? You get a very
mhm,
limited access, but you see the community is talking about things and getting and using it as a funnel. But I needed to understand, like, when somebody joins up, where are they at in their podcasting journey? So questions like how long you've been podcasting. One of my philosophies is when members, and I talk to my members all the time, is when you join our community, a year from now, where do you want to be? Because I want to be able to take you on that journey. You should not be in the same position from when you first joined. I think that's important to keep people wanting to pay and get the value from your community as well. I need to know what kind of skills and knowledge that you are hoping to gain, so that I know what kind of which type of workshops will be more will have a larger turnout than others. What is their main reasons, right? I need to know what your motivation is, because everybody has different motivations. So for some people, it's joining community. For other people, it's been, I need a place where I can get questions answered. So understanding that helps to also create the engagement, keep the culture, making sure the culture of the community is moving in the same direction. And then for me, asking them what would they like, right? Sometimes we tend to not ask,
mhm,
we just assume, what do you want? What do you like? And then the last one was like, how can I best support? How can the community best support you? I found that some members are struggling with the mental wellness of being a content creator, right? There's a lot of stress and a lot of things that come along with it that a lot of content creators go through. So it's like, oh, I hear you. So we're going to start bringing in more mental health, more wellness type of content, so that people can feel, if they're feeling a certain way. Now, we're not going to do counseling services or anything, but here's some things like tips and tricks, because we have people in our community that do wellness podcasts. So I think that's another way to engage, because they're already doing, and now I'm creating what I call community driven content. And I
mhm,
really encourage that with the community. Like, this is your community. Don't wait for me to post. Ask your questions, put up your content. It's, I rarely moderate it. Um, the culture has been so curated over the past couple of years that the community will moderate before I do. I get a chance to see it. So, we have a lot of checks and balances just from our just because people have ownership in the community. So that's kind of how and by using that information, it kind of gives me an idea of when I'm looking at the data in the background, when I'm looking at all the answers, I can say, okay, maybe we should go this route versus going what I think is the right route to go, because this is what the members are saying they want.
mhm.
I know it's long-winded. I'm sorry, but
It's all good. You're sharing a lot of info. So what would you say are, the top 5 learning lessons that you've learned now launching 3 times that you would share with anyone that's listening to this?
if you're running a community, you have to understand. I say there's three types of people. They're the people who are going to always be engaged at everything you do. They're going to show up at, that core tribe, or that tribe of your
Yeah.
thou everybody talks about. So you're going to have your core audience. You're going to have the people who, I would say, are lurkers. They're going to join. they may not want to participate, but they're learning it because I've had people do that when I've meet them in person. Like, yeah, that conversation would really help me. I'm like, I've never seen you post in the group, right?
Yeah.
Um, because our memberships right now is so small, I get to learn everybody and know everybody. And I suck at names, but I remember faces. So I'll be like, I know you, where you been at? And they're like, I'm there all the time. It's just, I just read the articles and stuff. So there's that group of people. And then there's the people who just want to support, right? They don't, I mean, on the Mighty Networks, and I know I could do that on here too. Like I could see when people logged in. I had people just joined the day one and never came back, but they were constantly being built, whether they forgot or not. But that's the first lesson. The second lesson I learned is you can't worry about those people. You got to worry about the people who are engaged and who are there and who are willing to be a part of it. And if you lose some of those people, if you lose the people who have just been lurking or just wanted to see what you were about, that's fine. For me in the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, we lost members, everything's falling apart, the sky is falling. And it's like, no, let me concentrate on the group that I have. Let me concentrate on the people who are here every day, who are engaging, who are asking. And in doing so, you'll kind of like weed out all the other people, and those will be the people who are out there promoting and telling people to come join the community. That's one thing I don't do. I don't sell a community. We're at conferences. If my members are there, people ask me, you got to talk to them. Don't talk to me. I own this. I'm going to sell it to you. These are the people who are going to tell you about their experiences and what they get from it. And then hopefully it resonates with you. And if you have any other questions, then come speak to me. Um, the other lessons I've learned, I'm not the most organized person, and I'm like a mad scientist. You got to have a team, and I'm working on that now. That's one of the biggest mistakes I had. I thought I can do. I get time blindness and stuff like that, so I think I can do everything with it, and I can handle everything. But you need a core group of people that can help, whether they volunteer or hopefully you can pay them, and you should pay them if you can, even if it's $50 a month or something. You should be compensating them for their time in some form or fashion. But having a team that can help you, that where your weaknesses are at, that's where their strengths are at. Um, Especially in a community like that a community environment that will help you so much. And I'm learning that lesson 3 years in. So, um, and because as the community grows and the needs grow, and you start realizing you have a certain, a glass ceiling to your expertise in certain areas, then you got to call on those people. So like operations, I'm bringing somebody in that's going to help me with like creating a better structure of operations so that things flow better. Marketing, stuff like that. I think those are big things I learned. The other thing is, just you should be doing heat checks of your community, constantly be engaged. And that when I say heat checks, doesn't mean you got to get on a call with them, but watch the conversations, read the comments. Don't just you know, listen to what people are saying in the comments. Watch the types of questions they're answering. If you ask somebody ask a question, you start seeing a bunch of comments where everybody's like, "Yeah, I've been wondering that." You might want to move in that direction with a course or your workshops or your library or whatever content you may be providing to them. And by doing that, they're gonna feel like, oh, you're listening, somebody's paying attention. I've done it where somebody might say something 3 days later. I'm like, hey, we have a workshop coming up on this, right? Because
Mhm.
I've to my network. So that has helped me a lot to bring really good content and workshops and talks to our community. And I think that's the only way I could think of right now, man. And,
Well,
and you know what? I also be a part of, one thing I appreciate about Group App is you guys have, you ask questions, you have the community where we can ask for features and stuff like that. And trust me, I get it. I do programming too. Like not every feature is gonna be able to rolled out or should it be rolled out, right?
yeah.
Um, But the fact that you guys listen and you ask people to explain why they think it should be there, I think is a great thing. And anyone using this app should be, you should, even if you don't think it's going to happen or you might not like the response, you should participate in that process because you and your team can either say, okay, maybe not in this capacity that the person said, but maybe we could roll it in, and I've seen you guys do that. Like I've seen you do that,
Mhm.
and I probably jumped ahead in your schedule on certain things to roll certain things out. So and that's another thing that's important
Yeah.
especially with young companies that you guys are listening and paying attention. So I advise anyone to participate in that process.
Well, Corey, I really appreciate you taking the time to, share your community building journey. I'm super excited to see where your community goes. It's already super active and engaged. And, how can someone reach out to you if they just want to, if they have questions or they want to join your communities? as a whole?
Well, you can go to the https blackpodcastersassociation.com to join. I wear many hats. I run all our socials, so you can follow us on social media. Unfortunately, because our name is so long, everybody has different requirements. So I would just tell people search, like on Instagram, it's the Black Podcast Association. Facebook, you can look up Black Podcast Association. All the other platforms, same thing. You can follow. You can look up Corey Gums on LinkedIn. I think it's LinkedIn/Corey Gums. You can reach out to me on there. Or you can email me at support@blackpodcastersassociation.com. We're pretty much, you can just, or go to corey.gums.com because that's all my contact information is on there too. I always forget to plug that one. Even though I use it on my phone all day long to when I meet people. But yeah, that's the best way to reach out to me. I run, like I said, I run all the socials and everything, so I'm pretty accessible.
All right. I'll also include a link to your community when we publish this. Well, Corey, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, for me, it was important to, I think the most important part for me in the beginning of moving everything to here was the library, because we have a lot of content. So like here we do be learning labs, which is basically replays of our monthly, of all the monthly trainings that we've done over the past 2 years, from different various people in the industry, in our community. So I definitely wanted to move that information over to the platform, because that is something that a lot of our members constantly come back and refer to, um, as well. But because podcasting has so many different aspects to it, whether it's from video equipment to branding, because a lot of our members do a lot of things themselves. So it got a little crazy, and I'm thinking about consolidating some of this, but it was like all these different questions and stuff that over the course of 2 years of in the community, I broke them down to our library categories. So this was important. I'm constantly working on this. This is like, for me, this is like a living, breathing document. It's always going to constantly be updated, stuff like that. Um, uh, then events, another big thing that we do. We have our own events and stuff that's going on in the industry, whether it's through our collaborations with other organizations or things that we see in the industry. So that was also an important thing, because a lot of our members attend these events in person or virtually, and having a better place than our previous platform where it's easier to find information. So as far as the channels go, I got a little crazy. Now, what you're seeing on here is what I see, not what everybody else sees. But I wanted to, I did the start here to create a space where people can learn our one, download the app, because that was one of the biggest questions, but also how to set up notifications, certain things. And I'm still working on this, but what our mission, vision statements, all of that stuff is at. So this is like your HR, handbook when you go into a job, introductions for everybody to introduce themselves. So a lot of our members have been using this, which has been wonderful, and this gives people opportunity to actually, engage. I've created a page for membership perks, a channel we just gonna, all the perks that we get across, and collaborations that we do with other companies and people. And I wanted to do that because that was one of the biggest pains I was getting was, hey, Corey, what's the perk that you said I can get? Can you send me a link? And I was like, well, everything is here. Um, Now I have two tiers. I have a free tier and a paid tier, and I still haven't figured out how I really want to differentiate the two. So we have general discussions, which is all the membership, um, which is our free and paid tier, just general questions and stuff like that. And then our member discussions, which are more private information that's for the membership. And that's part of my whole idea of the whole FOMO, trying to create a funnel. This is going to improve over time. So this is not something necessarily that I'm sticking with. But BPA Celebrates is a channel we use to just go in and celebrate our wins and stuff. I'm trying to get more members to use it. But like we had a member who had 7,500 downloads. Black Pod News is our newsletter, and I just use this for the pages that people want to, if they want to submit content, any content that they want to submit. Each one of these goes to a form, for that, and that just helps make the process. Now I have partnerships with Afros and Audio, which is a conference every year for Black podcasters, and then the Black Podcasting Awards. We've all collaborated and worked. So I gave them each their own channel for them to be able to communicate with our membership and keep them up to date on what's going on over the course of the year, or any deals or any special arrangements or anything like that. I have my help and support channel. Um, this is probably redundant right here, which I'm going to fix. Where I have a leadership, which is like my board, and then of that team. The book club was a big thing. Some of these are not actually active yet because I'm working on it behind the scenes with some people. But our book club was a very big thing in the previous. So we have an official reading list of from when we ran the book club. This I'm using this also for like affiliate marketing and stuff like that. So all our links are affiliates and stuff. I want to, my idea with is I want to do like what Bill Gates does, where he has his yearly reading list, a
Mhm.
curated reading list. So that's kind of the idea I'm trying to have as well, because I'm very big on both hard skills and soft skills. I talk to our community about being business owners and stuff like that, so they have to start working on that. We're going to have our own Toastmasters type of program, and another thing that happens in the space is career jobs and being a guest. So if you want to be a guest, so like I have people here who put their profile, myself and another person put their profile, or they want to be on a podcast, they can use it. Um, we have a job board, so we have people who put up jobs that are happening. And then another thing that I'm rolling out is for people to actually put their own, so that they can hire, like if you're a freelance editor and you want to get hired by members in the community. So that's kind of where like always trying to think of like how do I bring value to the membership and make my life a little easy by creating these static channels that I can put information in where I could like I had somebody ask me about perks the other day, and I was like, go on a community on the membership perks board, everything is there, all the discount codes, links, everything are there, so I don't have to keep like stopping what I'm doing to do that. Now I know this it's a lot, and I actually consolidated this, but with the upcoming changes you guys are making, will be making, I'm able to move some of this stuff. I'm going to be moving some of this stuff to the library versus having a channel. So that also helps. Like I think you guys added like the PDF and articles and stuff like that. You added more assets, more you made it more robust on how many assets we could add to the library, which would
Yeah.
remove the need for a channel because now we can just put it there and versus having a whole channel for it. So that's the idea is just mainly for me. I'm a mad scientist. Like, what can I add? What are the pain points of my community, and how can I create channels or library items or stuff for them. Like I'm trying to figure out how to do a directory, like of studios and editors and stuff, like our official of vetted directory. And and that's also opportunity for us to make that accessible to the general public for maybe a small fee or whatever, or use that to help drive membership, people to join so they can get a better more access to our content by saying, oh, they have an official directory. Let me see what else they have. So I'm still in the brainstorming stage with all these channels and seeing what works and doesn't. And I actually asked my community like, which ones do you use more often? Which ones do you think I should get rid of? I'm very engaged with that as well. So far, most people they're okay with the amount we have right now. So I'm trying to hold back on my madness.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your community with us, Corey.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to do so.